evening, partners. Okay, I cannot do that voice, and I apologize to everyone for that. Yes, I am back once again to go over an old arcade converted to Super Nintendo classic, Sunset Riders. Good evening again, Wolfman2000, aka Denstad here. And today, we now are back in the actual West. We will be going through the hard difficulty today. I think hard anyway. There we go. And we will be playing as Cormano, who, if I recall correctly, uses a... Which weapon was it again? Yes, a rifle. I believe Cormano is better at taking out bosses compared to some of the others. But overall, it doesn't matter too much. This is hard mode. We're going to get our butts kicked. But Julian, going to try to do the reverse. So please, cheer JulianRX on as we go through this crazy world of the West. We are cowboys, or perhaps bounty hunters, hard to tell. We have to take out a number of big bad bosses, starting with Simon Greedwell. We can collect two different types of power-ups in the game. The gray sheriff badges give you an extra gun, I believe, whereas if there is a gold one, you gain rapid fire. We hear rumbling. It's a mini stampede! Fortunately, we are able to hop onto, the mini animal stand, and thus we can move on. When it comes to movement, sometimes sliding is the best approach. That gets you moving pretty quickly, but at times we're also limited by how many enemies are on screen and how many we have to take out. So we do want to actually defeat as many of these enemies as possible. Uh-oh. Chickens are moving again. Stampede! And this time we have to literally perform the running of the bulls, or rather, running on the bulls. Mind the gap. Okay, I think that's enough bull riding for one day. Alright, Chad, get to quoting. This is Simon Greedwell. Simon is guarded by a number of henchmen and a few barrels. You can shoot those barrels away, and for that matter, it's typically recommended. Just don't stand under them when they fall down. The last thing we need is a flat cowboy. However, once the barrels are gone, Simon is kind of easy to take out. Seriously, I have to wonder how many henchmen Simon has here. Ooh, nice dodge. And...
marry me with my money.
right on cue, chat. Right on cue. We actually collect $10,000 of that money, so Simon's wish is dishonored. Now we have a new bounty to hunt, Hawkeye Hank Hatfield. But in this case, we have to hurry to catch the varmint. So, let's go riding on a horse. Watch out for the log jams. We do not want to trip over them. And for those wondering why does this sound kind of similar to Turtles in Time? Well, both Turtles in Time and Sunset Riders were made by Konami. And this was during Konami's heyday of beat-em-up greatness. After all, well, it's not just beat-em-up greatness, but also shooting greatness. I mean, Konami helped Contra, as far as beat-em-ups go, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, the Simpsons franchise. Well, actually, they only helped with the arcade game, but still, that is a classic. And of course, Sunset Riders was also for the arcade. The port that we've received here is mostly accurate. You still had to deal with this big train, and all these enemies that wanted to shoot you from the various carriages. But fortunately, once you get to this part of the stage, as long as you know where the enemies spawn in, this is sort of your breather time. Take advantage of it. Now we're dealing with some of the flatter cars. I'm genuinely curious how those boxes are able to stay on the flat parts without going off. I mean, even the logs are tied down. Yeah, the Wild West is filled with crazy things here, I guess. But now the train has pulled to a station as we abandon our horse and take the battle on foot. And thus the battle is on. Hawkeye stays in the back. We cannot jump over to that plane. As such, we have to move and shoot while noting, hey, the concept of cover premiered in this game, not Gears of War. And Hawkeye is certainly taking advantage of it. Bandits keep on coming from the sides, but again, as long as we're careful, we're good. Oh! Surprise front attack! And, Hawkeye's down. And now, that was a little bit intense, especially near the end. Let's relax with a little bit of a bonus game. Those that remember some older classics, basically shoot the enemies in one of the 8 directions, and there you go. React quickly though, you do not get a lot of time in order to take out the later folks here. I believe the top score is 50. I do not remember if you get an extra life if you hit 50, but we certainly want as many extra lives as we can. And thank you, chat, for confirming. No extra lives involved. We'll just have to earn it the old-fashioned way. Good old point system. Perfect job. We do not get any sort of Chaos Emeralds here, but we'll certainly take the 30 grand, and another 30 grand for taking out Dark Horse. We have now approached the equivalent of a city block, downtown, I don't know. But obviously the bandits are very strong and... Oh, nice idea. Stop by the tavern, pick up some gold and some invulnerability frames for that. Considering the amount of enemy spam that there is, certainly not a bad idea. And as I said, there's that invulnerability that you get. Uh-oh, watch out for the oil. There we go. That rope has proven itself to be useful. Staying up and staying alive. That is the important part. And now, we have hit our arena. This is Dark Horse. Is Dark Horse the horse or the guy riding the horse? I will let you folks be the judge. Either way, that horse is armored, but the horse is not our target. The human is. Dark Horse likes to stay on the ground, but is not afraid to jump up and hopefully kick Cormano. We can stay on either second or first floor, and there you go. Dark Horse and Dark Horse run away. So everything's going smoothly right now. Suddenly, plot! And so we immediately enter a boss stage, the Smith Brothers. I do not know their first names, but I can tell you that they are dangerous. You are allowed to fight on or hanging on that chandelier. The green Smith brother likes to throw bombs, the blue one likes to throw, effectively, napalm bombs. Oh! By the way, taking a death in this game is dangerous. All those power-ups that I talked about on the first stage? Gone. You go back to your default gun. But fortunately, once one brother is taken out, the other one is a little bit easier. And in this case, we have gotten the blue Smith brother in a stun lock. It's okay, Julian. Feel free to relax. You have a bit of time. And I literally mean it. It is now time for the halftime show. So Cormano and Julian get to relax a little bit, as we have some celebratory dancers. However, these dancers are also rather intelligent. Because we have to deal with Richard Rose, who is effectively the big bad leader of them all. And Richard has 3 sidekicks of his own to take out. And we're gonna start with El Greco. Time to catch another train, only this time, we're on it. The good news is, this is not an auto-scroller stage, so you could theoretically take your time. But, nah, we want to keep on going. I mean, this is effectively your athletic music here. You want to keep going. Now, we do have to be careful for the poles along the way. But we can just jump and then shoot again. Get the power-ups. Note that if you collect a gold sheriff mask and then a second one, it doesn't make a difference. Anyway, here is El Greco. El Greco has a shield which can block your bullets. And also a whip. I know the saying, never bring a knife to a gunfight, but that whip is surprisingly effective. If you're hit by that whip, that's it. So, careful movement manipulation is all you need in order to take El Greco out. Fun fact, I believe it's in the arcade version. Cormano can take El Greco's hat at that point. Now, I'm going to utilize this bonus stage to apologize in advance to everyone. The next stage may not be the most culturally sensitive. So, if anyone is offended with history, especially with considering that it's Thanksgiving today, you may want to turn away for the next few minutes. I'm going to emphasize some of what Chad has said here. This game was made during an interesting time. So I am just going to call it like I see it. So what is this next stage exactly? Well, we will be fighting Chief Wigwam. I know there was another name in the arcade version, but I am sticking with Wigwam here. We are climbing up, effectively, a mini mountain range, and our destination is basically a tribal council meeting area. The enemies in this stage were changed from the arcade version. I honestly do not believe they were bandits in the original. So it's not every day that we had slopes in these styles of games. But, no, they don't cause that many problems. And right there is a rare 1-up heart. Certainly a good idea to grab it for safety. Alright, we have reached our meeting place.
Ready for powwow.
So, Chief Wigwam does bring knives to a gunfight. However, it's multiple knives. For those that saw Mega Man 7 earlier today during the SNES Super Stars, fan attacks can be quite dangerous. And now, logic. Why?
Don't shoot my brother. He's only following orders.
All right, man. We won't shoot him.
Then why were you shooting him earlier? I never said this stage made the most amount of sense. Let's move on to someone a little bit more sensible. Maybe Paco Loco. How many of you remembered the horse gameplay from stage 2? It's back! This time we don't have a train to worry about, but we still have the wagons and the logs that spawn from them, so do be careful. It is possible to take out some of these wagons by shooting that rear wheel, but the wagon eventually goes away as well, so your call how you want to do this. Whoa, my apologies, I was not expecting such flashing colors. Again, another product for its time. But eventually, our time on the horse has to end. But we have not found our boss just yet. We still have to go through this, mildish foresty area. Watch out for more bullets. Watch out for the dynamite. You could choose to pick it up and throw it yourself, but you don't have a lot of time for that. Choose carefully. And of course, now we have some of the enemies with bombs that drop on death, so you can't get too up close and personal. Again, choose wisely. And now for Paco Loco. Somehow, Paco Loco effectively has a machine gun that fires in spurts. If he shoots you, it's gonna hurt. My apologies to anyone that did not like the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64.
Bye-bye.
If it helps, I think you don't have to worry about manual dodging that attack. And so we have taken out the 3 sidekicks / henchmen of Richard Rose, or excuse me, I need to use the proper title, Sir Richard Rose. So, let's take him out. Worth 100,000. We start at the outskirts, where it's surprisingly, it's effectively we're in a dock area right now. But as before, docks, any areas of commerce, they are heavily guarded. Do watch out for the explosions, because these enemies like to bring them. Fortunately, some good old-fashioned rope climbing, and we are able to get through some of the obstacles. And then suddenly, a screen transition. We have now climbed up, and we are back on slopes. We are making our way towards Sir Richard Rose's house? Palace? I don't know what you call it. But either way, we're here. Tell me if this arena looks familiar, folks. Like Simon Greedwell, Sir Richard Rose has no problem hiding behind barriers. But once those barriers are broken, well, he's certainly willing to be much more mobile, trying to get any advantageous position possible. So in that way, he's acting like Hawkeye. Fortunately, the number of bandits eventually ceases, because Richard is already annoying enough as is. Careful dodging is necessary, and we do have to be careful. We would like to 1 credit clear this, and we have defeated Sir Richard Rose. Except plot twist! Some sort of bulletproof glass casing started getting too weak, and it's fallen out of Richard Rose's shirt. We now have the final phase. And there goes the 1 credit clear. And the unfortunate part, unlike the arcade version, you have to do the stage all over again. So, while we are making our way back, I am going to talk a little bit about the other versions of the game here. To my knowledge, there is only one other. And it was on a different system that was basically having games released at the same time as the Super Nintendo. However, it had half the bosses, and the stages were effectively split into 2 acts. My understanding is the bonus stage is different, and, well, let's just say it's a love it or hate it version. Heard it's still decent quality, but we're not going to stress about it. Alright, we have caught back up. It is time to have a rematch against Sir Richard Rose. As before, take out the barriers, and then you force Sir Richard Rose to be mobile. Again, there's only a limited supply of bandits, so eventually you make it mano-a-mano. All of the henchmen are gone. It is down to Cormano versus Rose. Again, Richard is willing to use the entire arena. You will have to do the same. Fortunately, once Richard gets to a particular spot, the shot patterns should be simple. And then, the bulletproof protection plate falls off. Just stay calm, stay collected. Richard is almost down. And time. Getting it literally under the buzzer. 24-58 effectively. Get your GGs out in chat, folks. $100,000. Unfortunately, by having to spend an extra credit, we do miss out on having over 500,000 to end the run. But this is still a difficult game, and it was played extremely well. Fun fact, if this was the arcade version, you would see these credits, or some variation of them, and then go through the loop again. The game does not end. Alright, Julian, feel free to rest your hands a little bit before we get into the next game here. But in the meantime, please follow JulianRX, and, well, maybe me, Wolfman2000, if you think I'm doing a half-decent job. Oh, but this next one is going to be tough for both of us for different reasons. Oh, the Super Nintendo version does loop still. But I think only one loop is enough for our purposes. Let's rest up a bit and prepare for the next game. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. Chojiku Yosai Macross Scrambled Valkyrie. I hope I said that right. I'm going to study up on how to actually pronounce this as Julian gets that loaded. So stay tuned, folks.